Welcome back to the Crypto Deep Dive. I'm Laurie, and as always, I'm here with our resident blockchain expert, Nick. Today, we're diving into the latest drama in crypto, Circle's IPO filing, Ripple's acquisition ambitions, and whether this public listing is really the end of the story, or just another move in a high-stakes game. Nick, this is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing stories of the year.
Absolutely, Laurie. The stablecoin wars are heating up, and Circle's IPO is right at the center. There's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
Let's set the stage. Circle, the issuer of USDC, the second largest stablecoin, has officially filed for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker CRCL. The offering is expected to raise up to $624 million, with shares priced between $24 and $26, targeting a valuation close to $6 billion. This comes after months of rumors about a possible sale to Ripple or Coinbase, which Circle has publicly denied.
Exactly. Circle's leadership has been clear. Circle is not for sale. Our long-term goals remain the same. But behind the scenes, it's been reported that both Ripple and Coinbase were interested, with Ripple's bid rumored to be in the $4 to $5 billion range, ultimately rejected by Circle as too low.
So Nick, is this IPO really the end of the story, or could Circle be playing a deeper game here?
That's the million-dollar question, Laurie. On the surface, going public signals independence and confidence. But in the world of high finance, IPOs can also be a strategic move to drive up a company's valuation, especially if there are suitors circling. Pardon the pun. Here's why. An IPO sets a public, market-driven valuation. If Ripple or anyone else wants to make a move, they now have to pay a premium over that valuation, not just negotiate in the dark. It also signals to the market and to potential buyers that Circle isn't desperate. They're saying, we have options. If you want us, you'll have to pay up.
So, in a way, Circle could be using the IPO to get a better deal, either now or later.
Exactly. It's a classic negotiation tactic. By pursuing an IPO, Circle not only increases its visibility, but also its bargaining power. If the IPO goes well, Ripple's window for a bargain buyout closes. If the market undervalues Circle, Ripple might swoop in post-IPO. Either way, Circle is keeping its options open.
But can a company really pursue an IPO and an acquisition at the same time? Isn't that risky?
It's not only possible, it's actually pretty common in tech and finance. Companies often run parallel processes, testing the waters for both a public listing and a private sale. The goal is to maximize value for shareholders. If an acquisition offer comes in that's significantly higher than what the IPO would deliver, the board has a fiduciary duty to consider it. Circle's own history backs this up. Reports say they weighed a $5 billion sale as an alternative to the IPO. Ripple and Coinbase were both in the mix, but Circle decided to go public, at least for now. Also, some players argue along the lines of now, Circle does not want to give up control, selling out to Ripple. To me, that's a totally pointless argument. You go public and you give up control, at least to a certain degree, to the shareholders, most likely quite a bit of it to your largest institutional shareholders that all have their own interest at heart. Selling out to Ripple hands over control to Brad and his crew. The end result is pretty much the same.
Let's talk about market psychology. Could this IPO be a signal to Ripple, almost a dare?
Absolutely. By filing for an IPO, Circle is effectively telling the market we're confident in our future as a public company. That can create a sense of urgency, or FOMO, for anyone considering an acquisition. Ripple, for example, might worry about missing out on a strategic asset if they wait too long. And don't forget, institutional players like ARK Investment are already showing interest in the IPO, which only adds to Circle's credibility and negotiating leverage.
If Ripple is still interested, does the IPO actually help them by setting a clear price?
In a way, yes. The IPO acts as a price discovery mechanism. It gives everyone, Ripple included, a transparent benchmark for what Circle is worth in the eyes of the public market. If Circle shares perform well, it justifies a higher acquisition premium. If not, it could open the door for a post-IPO buyout at a discount.
Let's flip the script. What are the risks for Circle in playing both sides, going public while keeping the door open to a sale?
There are definitely risks. First, the IPO process is expensive and time-consuming. If Circle is seen as indecisive or opportunistic, it could spook investors. Second, if the IPO underperforms, it could weaken Circle's negotiating position, making them more vulnerable to a lowball offer. Third, public scrutiny ramps up. As a public company, Circle will face intense regulatory and shareholder oversight, which could complicate any future M&A talks. But the rewards are clear: more leverage, more options, and potentially a higher exit price for insiders and early investors.
Let's talk about the broader market. Why are we seeing so much M&A activity in crypto right now?
It's all about scale and survival. The stablecoin market is consolidating, and the big players like Circle Tether and now Ripple with its RLUSD stablecoin are jockeying for dominance. Regulatory clarity is improving, and the crypto market is rebounding after a rough couple of years. That's creating a window for IPOs and big deals. Circle is still number 2 behind Tether, but it's a key player thanks to its partnerships and regulatory posture. By going public, Circle is betting it can raise capital, boost its profile, and fend off rivals, at least for now.
So, Nick, what's your take? Is Circle's IPO the end of the Ripple acquisition story, or just a new chapter?
If I had to bet, I'd say it's just a new chapter. Circle's IPO is a power play, a way to maximize its value, attract institutional investors, and keep all options on the table. Ripple might be out of the running for now, but if Circle's public debut doesn't meet expectations, or if the market shifts, those acquisition talks could easily heat up again. Remember, in crypto, nothing is ever truly off the table. Today's IPO can be tomorrow's takeover target.
Let's wrap up with some rapid-fire questions for our listeners to ponder. Is Circle's IPO a genuine bid for independence, or a strategic move to drive up its value for suitors like Ripple? Could Ripple come back with a higher offer post-IPO? What does this mean for the future of stablecoins and the broader crypto market? Nick, any final thoughts?
Just that this is a classic case of game theory in action. Circle is playing its cards close to the chest, and the next few months will be critical. Whether you're a trader, a builder, or just a crypto enthusiast, this is one story you'll want to watch.
That's it for episode 18 of the Crypto Deep Dive. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and send us your thoughts on Circle, Ripple, and the future of stablecoins. We'll be back in our next episode with more insights from the frontier of digital assets.